are the goals of Global Volunteers?
Good morning. I'm glad you asked. When we sign up for these, one of the things they tell us that the major goal is to promote peace and friendship. We hope when we come to your country that we learn about you and you learn something about us. Most all of us are from America. You agree?
Yes. Some of us are from Canada as well. I have been on trips where they have been Canadian people. However, we also have what we call team goals. So before we start our assignments, we gather as a group, and as a group, we write down what we want to accomplish as a team. This time, some of our goals were we wanted to learn about the Portuguese people and their culture. We wanted to be more global citizens. We wanted to help children, if we could, with their English studies. So we come up with our own goals and what we have to do to be that kind of person. We have to be happy and flexible and responsible. All of the characteristics, and I know that's a big word, characteristics of what we need to be to reach the goals.
Thank you.
Why did you choose to do global volunteering?
I chose because I go on vacation sometimes, and you go visit all of the museums and all of the things to see, but you don't really meet the people. And what makes a country special is the people. And it's even more fun to learn about the people through students, because you are Portugal's future, and it's nice to see what you're thinking and learn about you.
And the same for me. It's a chance for you also to get to know us. You know, if you're just touring, like he said, it's very superficial. It's not as deep. But when we move here and we stay, we feel like we learn a lot more.
Who chooses the destination
Of
of the trips?
the troops.
Very well. We do.
We do. Now, at Global Volunteers, the administration, they send teams into countries, and the important thing is we only go where we're invited. We don't just say we're going to go to someplace. Global Volunteers, the head of the company goes and they find places that want us to come. So that's the first thing. So when we are as volunteers, we get a book and it shows all the places that you can go. In the book said we could go to Costa Rica, we could go to Peru, to Romania, China.
The book will also say what kinds of projects are going on in that country. Some of it will be teaching and helping in English, some will be taking care of children, some will be painting and building things. And then also the book will tell us what the dates are that we can go to those countries. So I chose to come here from September 24th until October 8th. And it gives you all of the information, but you pick one. Nobody tells you where you have to go.
So we get to choose where we want to go. And she and I chose Portugal. We had not been here before, and it sounded interesting. Plus, you have wonderful food, and you have a reputation for wonderful people. Thank you.
If you could travel to one place in the world, where would you go?
Joni has been far more traveled than I have. But I have been to Italy several times, and it is the land of my ancestors, and I just enjoy going there a lot, and I think I would pick Italy.
I might choose Greece. I've read about it, and it sounds so romantic. It sounds so interesting. You know, you hear about Santorini, and you have the islands and the blue waters. I think I might choose Greece.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Which countries have you visited?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. A lot.
With Global Volunteers or just in general?
In general and with global volunteers.
Okay. Well, I can start with Global Volunteers. This was my third trip. My first trip, I went to the South Pacific to a place called the Cook Islands. And there, I worked in a hospital for a couple of weeks, and I taught at the university. Kids just about your age, teenagers. Then next year, I went to a country not too far from all of you, here in Europe, called Romania. And there I worked in a critical care clinic that also had children that did not have homes. In my personal life, when I'm not doing something for Global Volunteers, last year I got to go to Russia. Oh my gosh, that's the biggest country. I mean, it is so huge. And I only saw a tiny part of it, and it took me 2 weeks. And so those are some of my highlights. How about you, Dee?
I have been to Italy with Global Volunteers, teaching in a school like this. I have also gone to Lima, Peru, where we worked with children in an orphanage. With my family, I have traveled to Italy as well. Personally, I've also traveled to India. My husband was there for 2 years as a volunteer, and I went back with him to see the people he had met there. And my daughter was in Africa for 2 years, also as a volunteer, and we went to visit her as well. And those are my highlights.
Thank you.
Do you like soccer?
Soccer. This one is from Pedro.
We could tell where that question came from.
Soccer in the United States is not as popular as American football, but they do play it in the schools. My 3 sons, my children, played American football in the school, and I would go to their games and would sort of cheer them on. But we like soccer. It's just in the United States not as popular. It is not on TV as much as American football is on TV.
Yeah.
Baseball is also another sport that is very, very popular in the United States.
And basketball. And it never seems to end. You know, it just goes on and on and on. But we're hearing more about soccer. And when you have an international competition here in Europe, it's on with sports all the time. So we keep up with what's going on here in Europe.
Especially the World Cup.
The World
That's
Cup.
always on TV in the United States.
Yes, yes.
Lots of people watch that.
Let me just. Before this one, can you tell us where do you come from in the USA and talk about your former jobs?
I come from a little town just north of New York City. It is called Mamaroneck. It's a very big, long word. It's a small town of about 17,000 people. And if I get on a train, I will be in New York City in 30 minutes. So I'm very close to New York City. My husband worked in New York City, and my children would go every day to New York City to work. So it did not take long. Before I retired, I worked in a school in the office. I worked for the director of the school. In the United States, the schools are divided by districts. There are many districts, and within those districts are schools. So the person I worked for was in charge of one whole district. There were 5 schools, and there were 5,000 children. So I worked for the big boss.
I live on the other side of America. I live in a state called Colorado. The name of my town is Denver. And we have many mountains near us. So we're kind of on the other side of the United States from B. In my professional life, and I've been retired almost 5 years, I worked in a hospital. And I worked in a department that's called X-ray. So when people came in, perhaps with an injury like a broken arm or broken leg, we took the photographs. So that's one thing when I've been with Global Volunteers. If there's ever a hospital, I like to go and see it. When I was in the South Pacific, I worked in a hospital. But just on this little sideline, today, Bea and I get to go to the hospital I think it's in hospital.
Hospital.
When we finish with
Today,
your school
We're
year,
going to go to a hospital in Beja and have a tour. We like to see that. Yes.
Do you like our region?
Alentejo, yes.
the Asia region is wonderful. We have seen many things, especially in this area of Vidigueira. We have seen the cooperative winery. We've seen the municipal museum, all about that Vasco da Gama had built. What else did we see?
We saw the fire station.
The fire station.
We saw Roman ruins.
Cutufaca.
Do you know how lucky you are to have Roman ruins? We're just overwhelmed. It's so wonderful. And then around Beja, we've tried to walk as much as we can. I mean, in our country, we don't have a castle. You have this castle. It's just marvelous. The other thing we noticed, we don't have cobblestone streets. And so that's very interesting to us. Plus, I've been to Lisbon last weekend. That is fantastic. You get to see the ocean. You get to see all the things about your explorers. Beautiful museums. But yes, back to your direct question. We are so lucky to have chosen this assignment.
I like all around this area, there are many farms. It almost reminds me of when I visit Italy because they have many vineyards and they have many olive trees. So I look and I say, where am I? Am I in Portugal? Am I in Italy? It reminds me very much of that area too.
And you know, when we buy wine, we buy olive oil, we buy olives, we forget how much work goes into that. And it makes me appreciate more the hard work for the people here that are the farmers and doing that work. So the next time I eat an olive, I'm going to go, oh, yeah, thank you. Yes, it was very nice.
We have a store, a very big store, close to where I live, and they sell there all Portuguese pottery, all the beautiful dishes with the colors, and they also sell Portuguese olive oil in that store. I have visited it many times.
Yes.
It's nice.
But thank you for your questions. We're honored.